June 14, 1966. Long Tan Rubber Plantation, Phuoc Tuy Province, South Vietnam. The rain is already soaking through the canopy when the patrol halts. Not with a shouted order, not with a raised fist, just a subtle shift in posture. A man at the front, Private Mick O'Donnell, 6th Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, freezes mid-step. His boot hovers an inch above the leaf litter. Ahead of him, the jungle breathes. The plantation is unnaturally quiet. No birds, no insects, only the distant hiss of rain on rubber leaves and the soft creak of webbing straps settling against wet cotton uniforms. O'Donnell slowly lowers his foot exactly where it was before. He doesn't look back. He doesn't whisper. He simply tilts his head, one practiced movement. The signal ripples backward. The patrol stops breathing. This is how Australian patrols operate in Vietnam. No rush, no radio chatter, no instinctive squeeze of the trigger just because something moved. They have learned, painfully, deliberately, that the jungle punishes impatience. O'Donnell has spotted something most men would walk past, a bent blade of grass, a footprint that shouldn't be there, too fresh, too clean. Someone has crossed this trail less than an hour ago and they weren't running. Behind him, Lieutenant David Sabin, patrol commander, crouches low. He scans the ground, then the trees, then the negative space between them. The places where nothing moves are the places that matter most. Sabin does not order his men to fire, he orders them to wait. Across the province, an American patrol would already be reacting differently. U.S. Army doctrine in 1966 emphasizes immediate fire superiority. If contact is suspected, fire first, fire hard, dominate the engagement before the enemy can react. Squad leaders are trained to respond instantly. M16s up, grenades out, machine gun barking within seconds, and often that doctrine works. But here, in the wet, claustrophobic jungle of Phuoc Tuy, Australians fight a different war. Sabin raises 2 fingers. The patrol fans out silently, spacing measured in yards, not meters. No one chambers around loudly. No one adjusts their helmet. Sweat runs into eyes, stings goes ignored. The enemy is close. Everyone knows it. The Australians don't fire because they don't yet know where the enemy is. And firing blind in this terrain is how men die. O'Donnell's weapon, a 7.62-meter L1A1 SLR, rests against his shoulder, finger straight along the trigger guard. Heavy rifle, accurate, deadly, but useless if you give away your position too soon. 10 minutes pass, then 20. Rain thickens. Visibility shrinks to 50 meters. The rubber trees stand in neat rows, an illusion of order masking a battlefield designed for ambush. Viet Cong units have used these plantations before. They know the firing lanes, they know the dead ground. Sabin spots it next, a flicker of movement, low and deliberate. Not panicked, controlled. The Viet Cong patrol is ahead, maybe 10 men, moving laterally, not toward the Australians, but across their front. Scouts. They haven't seen the Australians yet. This is the moment where wars diverge. An American squad leader taught to seize initiative might open fire now, pin the enemy, call in artillery, establish dominance. M60 machine gun rattles, smoke grenades, air support inbound. Sabin does none of that. He lets the Viet Cong pass. The Australians remain invisible. This restraint is not hesitation, it is experience. Australian officers in Vietnam are drawing from lessons learned years earlier in Malaya during the emergency. Jungle warfare there taught them that the first man to fire is often the first man to be flanked, that ambushes are layered, that noise attracts reinforcements faster than helicopters ever could. Killing one enemy patrol means nothing if it reveals your position to 3 more. The Viet Cong fade into the trees. Only then does Sabin allow himself to breathe. He motions the patrol forward, slow, cautious, every sense stretched thin. They will shadow the enemy, learn their routes, maybe call in a larger force later, on Australian terms. No shots fired, no contact reported, no body count. But everyone goes home alive. That same afternoon, just miles away, an American platoon from the 173rd Airborne Brigade moves through thicker jungle. Different terrain, different command culture. Their point man hears movement. He doesn't stop. A shot rings out, then another. Within seconds, the jungle explodes. M16s crack. An M60 opens up. Claymores are detonated preemptively. The platoon wins the firefight, but loses 2 men to a secondary ambush they never saw forming on their flank. Both units followed their training, both believed they were doing the right thing. Only one had the luxury of choosing when to fight. The rain continues to fall over Phuoc Tuy, and the jungle remembers everything. The Australians move again just before dusk. Their patrol reforms without a word spoken, no radio checks, no calls to headquarters. Lieutenant Sabin knows that every transmission is a beacon, every burst of static a breadcrumb trail for enemy signal intercept teams. The jungle is listening. They angle southwest, following the same faint signs that tipped them off earlier. Compressed leaves, snapped twigs bent inward, not outward. Someone moving tactically, someone trained. This restraint did not come naturally. It was learned. Most of the men in Sabin's platoon trained for months before setting foot in Vietnam. Jungle warfare schools, Malayan emergency case studies, live exercises where firing first was treated as a mistake, not a reflex. Australian instructors drilled one idea relentlessly. Contact is not combat. Seeing the enemy does not obligate you to shoot. American soldiers were trained differently because America fought a different kind of war. U.S. Forces in Vietnam arrived with overwhelming advantages in firepower, mobility, and logistics. Helicopters could deliver platoons anywhere. Artillery could reach miles beyond the tree line. Air support was minutes away. The doctrine reflected that reality. When American units made contact, the goal was speed and dominance. Fire superiority first, maneuver second, attrit the enemy before he could melt away. In open terrain, that logic was sound. In jungle, it became dangerous. The Australians had learned that the Viet Cong did not fight fair and did not fight alone. The first contact was rarely the main force, it was bait. A shot fired too quickly could trigger an ambush already laid, arcs of fire pre-registered, kill zones waiting. So Australians watched. They followed. They counted. As night falls, Sabin halts the patrol again. Hammocks come out, not foxholes. Sleeping above ground keeps them dry, alert, and harder to locate. Claymores are positioned not to defend a perimeter, but to break contact if needed. The patrol's goal is not to hold ground, it is to vanish if discovered. Across the province, American units are digging in for the night. Foxholes scraped into the mud, trip flares strung low, claymores facing outward, radios humming with reports and requests. The night belongs to whoever controls the illumination, and Americans light it up with flares believing visibility equals safety. The Australians believe the opposite. In the darkness, Sabin reviews what they've seen. The Viet Cong patrol's direction, their spacing, the fact that they did not circle back. This suggests confidence, likely operating within territory they control. Tomorrow, the Australians will continue observing. Maybe they'll hand the intelligence to another unit. Maybe they'll guide a larger force into position. Maybe they'll never engage at all. That outcome would be considered a success. The difference in philosophy is subtle, but it shapes everything. American commanders are under pressure. Higher headquarters wants results. Metrics, numbers, body counts. Enemy killed in action becomes a language everyone understands. From battalion briefings to Pentagon reports, Australian commanders are judged differently. Their mission in Phuoc Tuy is stabilization, not attrition. Deny the enemy freedom of movement, reduce their confidence, make the province feel unsafe for insurgents, not explode with firefights. The next morning, the contrast becomes stark. An American platoon conducts a sweep nearby, moving fast, covering ground aggressively. Their point man triggers a booby trap, punji stakes hidden beneath leaves. A man goes down screaming. The platoon reacts instantly. Weapons fire erupts in every direction. The Viet Cong want exactly this. They open fire from three sides, not to win, to delay, to draw attention, to fix the Americans in place while the real objective slips away elsewhere. By the time air support arrives, the jungle is empty again. The Australians hear the fight from miles away. Sabin stops his patrol and listens. Distant gunfire, helicopter rotors, the familiar rhythm of escalation. He doesn't move toward it, he moves away, because now the enemy knows where the Americans are and the Australians intend to remain unseen. This is not cowardice, it is calculation. Every Australian soldier carries the memory of what happens when impatience wins. Men killed because someone fired too soon. Patrols wiped out by secondary ambushes that never needed to happen. Sabin's patrol reaches a ridgeline by midday. From here, they can see a faint trail leading toward a known Viet Cong base area. They mark it mentally. No flags, no markers, nothing that leaves a trace. The jungle swallows them again. They still haven't fired a single shot. And that, in Australian doctrine, means they are winning. But this approach comes with its own cost. To not fire first requires discipline under pressure. It demands soldiers suppress instincts honed by fear. It means watching enemies walk away, sometimes knowing those same men may kill someone else tomorrow. That moral tension hangs heavy in the jungle air, and sooner or later, restraint will be tested. Because the enemy will not always pass by quietly. June 17th, 1966. Dawn. Same plantation, different silence. The jungle wakes before the men do. A cicada scream rises and falls, leaves drip from the night's rain. Somewhere far off, a single rifle shot echoes. Too distant to matter, too close to ignore. Lieutenant Sabin is already awake, eyes open in his hammock, counting sounds, sorting the natural from the human. Something is wrong. The Viet Cong patrol they shadowed yesterday never returned to its route. That absence is louder than any gunfire. In this war, nothing disappears without reason. Sabin orders a slow stand-to. No whispered commands, no metallic clicks. Each man lowers himself from his hammock like gravity is the enemy. Weapons are raised but not aimed. Safety catches remain on. Private O'Donnell moves point again. 10 meters in, he freezes. This time it isn't a footprint. It's a wire, thin, waist-high, stretched between two trees that weren't like that yesterday. A command-detonated ambush, not a booby trap. Someone is watching this ground right now. O'Donnell does not signal backward. He eases his weight off his forward foot and slowly sinks to one knee. Only then does he tilt his helmet, just enough for Sabin to see. Sabin's stomach tightens. The Australians are no longer observers. They are prey. Across the province, American patrols encountering this situation would already be firing. Immediate suppression. Grenades thrown into suspected positions. Break the ambush before it breaks you. But Australians are trained to recognize something else here. A prepared ambush means the enemy expects movement from one direction, which means their flanks and rear may still be thin. Sabin crawls forward inch by inch. He sees the wire. He sees the dead ground beyond it. He sees the kill zone, cleared just enough for bullets to travel cleanly. He does not fire. Instead, he signals the patrol to split. 2 men melt left, 2 right, silent as mist. The rest remain frozen, deliberately presenting the appearance of an unaware column. The Viet Cong are disciplined, patient. They wait. Seconds stretch. A bird takes flight. A branch snaps. Not by the Australians, but by someone shifting weight too soon. That is when Sabin fires. One round, not a volley, not suppression. One precise shot from his SLR, aimed not at a body, but at the wire. The ambush detonates early. Claymore fragments tear harmlessly through empty air. The Viet Cong open fire instinctively, spraying rounds into a space where Australians were supposed to be. But the Australians are already gone. From the flanks, controlled fire erupts. Short bursts, deliberate targets, no shouting, no chasing. This is not contact shooting. This is execution of doctrine. Within 30 seconds, it's over. 2 Viet Cong are down. The rest break contact immediately, melting backward into the plantation, exactly as the Australians expect them to. Sabin does not pursue. He orders withdrawal. The Australians disappear into the jungle before reinforcements can arrive, before helicopters can hear, before artillery can be called. They leave behind no bodies, no shell casings worth studying, no trail, only confusion. This is the difference restraint makes, not just tactically, but psychologically. The Viet Cong never knew how many Australians they faced, where they came from, where they went. The jungle does not answer those questions. Later that week, an American company engages in the same area. This time, the ambush goes as planned. The first shot is fired instantly, M16's hammer. The jungle erupts. The Americans win the firefight but cannot disengage. Enemy reinforcements arrive faster than expected. The company fights for hours, calling in airstrikes dangerously close. They extract under fire. The after-action report notes success. Enemy casualties inflicted. But the terrain is lost. The Viet Cong remain. Both sides fought bravely, but only one side chose when to fight. The Australians returned to base that night, wet, exhausted, alive. Sabin reports contact, brief, controlled, broken on his terms. No body count, no dramatic footage, nothing that would ever make a headline. But in Vietnam, survival is the metric that matters most. The jungle grows quiet again. And restraint, once tested, has held. For now. Late June, 1966. Nui Dat Base, Phuoc Tuy Province. The dust hangs low over the perimeter as helicopters come and go, their rotors chopping the humid air into waves of heat and noise. Inside the Australian command tent, maps are spread across a folding table, corners weighted with ammo tins and canteens. Lieutenant Sabin stands with his section commander's boots still stained red from the plantation. Their patrol is already over. No medals, no press, no film crews. Just another line in a quiet intelligence log noting enemy movement, likely routes, probable base locations. Information gathered without announcing itself. Across the wire, the Americans are fighting a louder war. Reports filter in through liaison officers, platoon-level engagements, frequent contact, rapid escalation. Fire bases calling for artillery multiple times a day. Helicopters moving wounded out as fast as they bring replacements in. The contrast isn't lost on anyone. Australian soldiers aren't braver. American soldiers aren't reckless. They are operating under systems that reward different instincts. In U.S. units, a young lieutenant learns quickly that hesitation can be fatal, to careers as much as to men. Fire superiority is drilled into muscle memory. When contact is made, speed saves lives. Overwhelming response keeps soldiers alive in the first terrifying seconds of an ambush. And often, that is true. But the jungle punishes predictability. The Viet Cong learn patterns fast. They know Americans will fire on contact. They count on it. They design ambushes to exploit it, triggering reflexive responses that fix units in place, draw reinforcements, and expose fire bases to mortar attack hours later. Australian units deny the enemy that rhythm. By not firing first, they force the Viet Cong to make mistakes, to reveal themselves, to wonder if the jungle is empty or watching. That uncertainty erodes confidence faster than casualties ever could, but restraint has its limits. Later that summer, Australian units are drawn into larger engagements, Long Tan among them, where observation is no longer enough, where holding ground becomes unavoidable. When Australians fire, they fire hard, with artillery timed to the minute, with fields of fire already mapped in their heads. Restraint does not mean weakness. It means choosing violence deliberately. Private O'Donnell understands this now in a way training never taught him. He cleans his rifle methodically, hands moving from memory, replaying moments when his finger hovered near the trigger and did not pull. Those moments are why he is alive. He thinks of the Americans he's met, good soldiers, confident, aggressive, exhausted. Men who fight constantly, who rarely get the luxury of silence. Men who shoot first because sometimes shooting first is the only way to survive. Different wars, same enemy. The jungle doesn't care which doctrine you believe in. It only responds to noise, movement, and fear. In Vietnam, Australians learn that the first shot is not always the smartest one, that sometimes the deadliest weapon is patience, that surviving the jungle often means refusing to announce yourself to it. Years later, veterans will argue about tactics, about body counts, about whose way was better. But in the plantation, in the rain, with the wire stretched tight and the enemy watching, the men who waited lived long enough to tell the story.